Hi, it's Jim here to service the aquarium. Thank you. So our tank is about 125 gallons. It's set up similar to a reef tank in the sense that we've got about 2 to 3 inches of live sand, the idea being that it should harbor or at least encourage the growth of certain copepods or arthropods, trying to create a natural environment that produces its own food, or at least some of the food. As I mentioned, the seagrasses are artificial. They're about 30 inches tall. They add a very realistic look to the tank, and this is the type of environment that you would typically find seahorses in. Because the plastic plants are plastic, they can be bleached, and once a month I do remove all those plants, give them a light bleach cleaning, and then return them into the tank. And top of the tank, standard lighting, don't want to grow too much algae, the overflow in the corner, and it returns via a spray bar in the tank, thus not only breaking the surface, but as the flow comes across the surface to the front of the tank, comes down across the face of the tank, and in turn blows the plastic plants straight back up, so they're always standing tall. The filter system, pretty standard, a wet dry trickle filter, protein skimmer, and then we also have a seahorse nursery here anticipating babies at some point, and the whole system's driven by a submersible water pump, which again discharges its water via a spray bar at the surface of the tank. This tank tends to evaporate a lot of water. So in a saltwater tank, you replenish the evaporated water with fresh water, because as the salt water evaporated, only the water left, the salt concentration stayed, and so it became greater. So to replenish that water, we want to put in fresh water, which will dilute that salt level. So let's go ahead and put that water in now. Now, typically, you would unplug the system, extract your old dirty water, plug in the system, and replenish it with your new salt water. That would be the most efficient means of doing a water change. In this system, it's driven by a submersible pump. I'm of the opinion that you really don't want to turn your water pump off. There's all kinds of problems that will come as a result of that, or potential problems. Namely because something that runs all the time, when it's turned off, obviously is no longer running and has no means of dissipating its heat. And so the components absorb the heat, and sometimes they swell as they do. And the potential is when you plug it back in, it can't turn on because it's swollen tight. So I'm a big believer in Murphy's Law. In this situation, we're not going to unplug the water pump. We're going to put in our new water in advance, leaving the system running. We're then going to take out the old dirty water. Not as efficient a water change, but I don't really think the seahorses generate that much waste that we have to be that efficient. I'm more interested in longevity of the equipment and making sure that it continues to run. So we've replenished our fresh water with 5 gallons of reverse osmosis purified water, and we've added in 10 gallons of salt water. What I'm going to now do is allow the system to run for a little while. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and clean the front of the tank, and then we'll do the water change in just a little bit. biggest issue with seahorses is the food. They are ambush feeders or ambush predators. They sneak up on their food, and sneaking up on a piece of frozen or dead food isn't very exciting and isn't going to lure the seahorse in. And so every week we have a shipment of live brine shrimp brought in to feed the seahorses. So we keep a bucket of live brine going all the time. And what we need to do is strain out the old brine shrimp. A lot of mush done in there. Brine shrimp poop. Let's wash it out. This will be our new water coming back in. Simple fresh water. The company provides us with some kind of elixir. I assume that it's a food and a water conditioner. It probably adds some mineral content to the brine shrimp. They call it brine shrimp water concentrate. This will help keep the brine shrimp alive for the next week. This is one of our new bags. Carefully find a corner, poke a hole, allow the contents to spill through the net, thus straining out the brine shrimp. We don't need to introduce their dirty water into the new brine. Again, you can see there's quite a big little pocket there. Put that in there. Bag, find the corner. Just so we don't have any lost soldiers, let's go ahead and flush the stray soldiers into our bucket. And you can kind of see the brine shrimp moving around inside there. And what we're going to do to keep them alive for the rest of the week is aerate that container. And I forgot to mention, there is a feeding chart. The seahorses need to be fed at least 2, if not 3 times a day. The reality is that they don't have much of a stomach, so whatever food they consume, it's not much, and it's frequent. So they have a calendar up here, and everybody's supposed to do their chore and then mark it on the calendar to make sure that they have been fed. So we have introduced our replenishment water, replacement evaporated water. We've introduced 10 gallons of salt water. We've done our brine shrimp thing, which in turn has allowed the water to move from the filter back into the tank and such. It's now time to take out that 10 gallons of salt water that we put back in. And in most cases, this will be done by siphoning or vacuuming into a 5-gallon bucket. I happen to be very fortunate. The tank's kind of dining room kitchen area. There's a sink right there. So I'm just going to siphon this straight into the sink. And I need to continue to monitor the water level down here so I don't go too low. But that's pretty easy, huh? So we've drained out our dirty water, brought the water level down to the high running water level mark on the filter. That way we're ensured that if the power goes off and what water drains from the top of the tank will fill, and this reservoir will hold all that and not overflow. I'm going to add our marine buffer to support the pH, always something important. Salinity and pH are probably the two biggest things to check on a regular basis in a saltwater aquarium. So it's really a pretty simple tank, at least it's set up simple. And so far it's doing well. There are 9 seahorses in there, and I think we may have lost a total of 4 over time. But I think overall, the customer should be pretty happy, and is happy, with her tank.